Hello and welcome to an Everyday Canines video. In this episode I want to talk to you about some of the terms and phrases you'll hear in connection to your dog walk. We've had a look at what the materials are of your dog walk. Let's talk about these planks. So these three sections are planks. That's what we know them as, planks. Fairly straightforward. This is your top plank. You know it's the top plank because it's got no contact area on it. And on more modern dog walks, not this one, but on more modern dog walks, the end planks will have a chamfer to them so they sit nice on the ground. Mine don't. So you could technically say to yourself, oh, it's the middle one. But as long as it hasn't got a contact area on, you know it's not the middle one. It's the middle one, not a down plank or up plank. So these are your end planks. Very straightforward. They make the ends of the dog walk. One thing to think about is that when you're in a training context, people refer to them as the up and the down plank. What that means is straightforward. The up plank is the plank the dog runs up. The down plank is the plank the dog runs down. But the fact is that obviously that changes depending on which way you're running your dogs. If I'm running my dogs this way, this is my up plank, that is my down plank. But obviously if I move that end, now this is my up plank and that's my down plank. So you'll hear that being talked about in context, and people might say to you, oh yeah, he missed his up contact, which means he missed the contact on the way up, or he missed his down contact, which is the contact on the way down. So it's just something to bear in mind. That's how it's referred to simply and easily. We've discussed this being the contact area. We can also call it a touch point, target area. In simple terms, but it mostly is called the contact because it's contact. But in simple terms, this is the area a dog has to put at least 1 foot into it. Doesn't matter which foot, but at least 1 foot. And this is the thing, it has to go, doesn't have to be fully in. So a dog could step here. Imagine this is my dog's paw, and that's a nail. If the dog gets like this, and that's just the nails gone in, he has touched the contact, he's not eliminated. That's sort of when they say you got in by a nail. It's not ideal in terms of context, and of course a judge could miss that and fault it. But there is, as long as even just a portion of the foot goes over this line, that you've hit the contact area. I'm obviously referring to as they're coming down, same as they're coming up. They need to have at least 1 foot touch this as they're coming up, but it could be over that line. You would say to yourself, oh well, no dog could possibly miss that going up. You would be surprised. You would be surprised because some dogs leap onto the dog walk, and when they leap onto the dog walk, obviously they land here and they miss it. So it's just never one of those things to think about. But I have to say, with little dogs, it's very unusual. In terms of safety, in the UK at least, with Kennel Club regulations, the entry onto the dog walk should always be reasonably straight. It's a little bit of a grey area in terminology, but what we want to see is the dog being able to come on a straight line. So even if they said there was a jump over there and they had a turn towards the dog walk, there should be enough distance that they can get up to speed and enter the dog walk straight. If you don't enter your dog walk straight, what can happen, because the dog is going so fast, is they can actually throw themselves completely off. They hit it so fast, they enter at an angle and they throw themselves off, and of course they can injure themselves and hurt themselves. So you don't want them entering at an angle, you want them coming on it straight. They should also, and this is in the Kennel Club regulations, they should also be able to build up speed before entering the dog walk. So it should be a case that they have got enough strides between whatever the obstacle was before and the dog walk that they can get speed up, so they're entering at not just at a walk, if you like. In terms of going over the dog walk, it doesn't matter if your dog runs over the dog walk or walks over the dog walk. There's not any rule that says your dog can't take it steady over the dog walk. That being said, you would obviously lose time and you probably wouldn't place. Most people want their dogs to be powering over the dog walk in a run. It's actually how things have changed slightly over the years. So they want them to run over there and they want them to carry on running and finish as they go down to keep up that speed. But as I say, there's no reason that your dog couldn't walk along here and be slow. They could even stop on top of the dog walk. They wouldn't actually be faulted or eliminated. as long as they carried on in the same direction when they were done. One thing to think about in terms of safety, and we've all been there and done things we shouldn't have done in the past, but this is actually quite a dangerous item in the sense that your dog is raised up off the ground. It's not as high as it used to be, but your dog is still 1.2 metres off the ground. If they fall off this top plank, it's going to hurt, and it could do damage to any part of them. If they fell off it badly, they could even damage a leg. We don't want that happening. In a competition, if it's outdoors and it gets very windy, they will actually remove the dog walk, because dogs have been known to be blown off a dog walk. So I always take my dog walk down over the winter when it's windy anyway, because it sometimes gets blown down on its own. But I wouldn't train with a dog over it in winter when it's windy conditions, because especially small dogs, though to be fair, I've known a big dog be blown off a dog walk. If the wind catches them as they're on this plank and it knocks them off, well, they're going to be down there. Even if they don't injure themselves, it's going to knock their confidence seriously. The other thing is you should never have anything on the top plank that they have to either jump or go through or anything along that description. So nothing like a hoop they might have to jump through, anything like that. This is all it ever should be. So if you ever go and you see, perhaps a trick training or displays or something like that, and they've put something on a dog walk which asks the dog to do something else along this plank, say it has to jump over something or through something, that's not safe, because if all it takes is for that dog to misjudge its footing and it's off and it's hurt itself, so it's not safe. So you shouldn't be having anything on this top plank. It is what it is. In terms of your struts, making sure they're safe. So these are the struts. That's what they're called, struts. You can see mine are a bit old and they've had to be lowered for the new height. But this is typically what they look like. And mine are wooden, but you usually get aluminium, and they all usually have a chain. That means they can be adjustable, so they can be lowered if you're training puppies. Mine aren't adjustable, they're just as is. You want the struts to be as secure as possible. See, mine have got a bit of a wobble because we're on the ground, uneven ground. But yeah, this is your struts. You want them to be secure. You want to also make sure, if you happen to go past them, just look when you're looking at them, make sure the chain is taut. If you ever go past, and it does happen, you go past and you see the chain is not taut, it means the strut is not set correctly and there's going to be wiggle room. So you just need to mention it to someone and say, your strut just needs pulling. It also means your height won't be right. And I have gone to shows, and by accident, pure by accident, the one strut is actually higher than the other, so your dog walk actually has got a slope to it. So it's just something as you're going around, and in your training as well, if you've set up your dog walk, just double check your chains are straight. One last safety factor I want to talk to you about, especially if you're buying second hand, you're looking to buy a dog walk or make a dog walk. You will notice that my dog walk has a bolt running through where it joins. So this is a metal tube, and they interlock, and there's a bolt running through, and they've got bolts on the end. Now once that's on, that's not coming off. What I mean by that is that top plank is not going to remove. It would have to rip the whole metal off the wood or shear the metal to it, and it's not going to happen. It's nice and secure. Some of the older style dog walks, all they had was a hook. So you had bits sticking out here and they hooked on, which sounds reasonable. You think, well, that's not a problem. The problem did occur, however, that because these boards bounce when the dog runs over them, I saw it on 2 occasions where a big dog went over, and actually because there was hooks, they had no means of holding them on, the plank bounced off. One instant the dog was actually on the plank and the plank bounced off and went down with the dog. The other instance, fortunately, the dog was here and the plank had bounced out before the dog reached it. So it is important to bear that in mind. That is just something, a factor. We don't think about it because we think, oh, they're heavy, they can't possibly, but these do bounce. So if you come across any of these hook design ones where they just hook on, it's not a good idea. You want to make sure that your attachment point is something that simply can't come off. It's secure. Anyway, I hope that's given you a better idea of safety elements within the dog walk and what you're going to be looking at when you're training your dog walk. And if you've enjoyed this video, you might subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram. I hope to see you all again very, very soon.